Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about these three wireless microphones, so stay tuned. All right, guys, so these three microphones right here are all digital microphones. All of these microphones right here in front of me run on the 2.4 gigahertz ISM band spectrum of the frequency spectrum, or whatever you want to call it. But these are all 2.4 gigahertz systems, and they're all digital, and we're going to talk quickly about some of them, and then we'll run some audio through it, and you can get an idea for yourself. The one I'm using right now is the SHURE QLX-D2 microphone. This one is a digital microphone, but runs not on the 2.4 gigahertz band. So these three microphones, like I said, are all 2.4 gigahertz. If you haven't seen the video on that, I don't even know if I have it out yet, but we'll talk about it real quick. So 2.4 gigahertz is a very busy spectrum, or band of the spectrum. Wi-Fi runs on it, Bluetooth runs on it, some Wi-Fi runs on 5 gigahertz, some Wi-Fi runs on 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, so whatever. There's a bunch of other stuff you can Google and figure it out. But anyways, the point is that 2.4 gigahertz is a very busy spectrum. And in order for these microphones to really work in that spectrum, these manufacturers had to come up with some technologies to really make it work reliably, okay? Or so they say. But anyways, the point is that because it's so busy, the way that they work is almost the same. They all kind of work exactly the same way, with small differences maybe in terms of how quickly they scan and what bands they can use and stuff like that. But pretty much what happens is when you turn it on, the receiver scans the area, finds the cleanest channel in the frequency, and then it links up with the transmitter, and the transmitter starts transmitting audio signals to the receiver in somewhat diversity mode. What does that mean? It means it really transmits on two different frequencies in multiple different time slots, such that when it gets on the end of the receiver and maybe one is interfered with or artifacting or signal noise is too low or whatever, it can put together a clean audio stream with different sources from it. So on the ones that can transmit on multiple different time slots is actually interesting, because you can It introduces some latency, but most of these are all fairly low. I can't remember which one is the cleanest, but they're all going to be probably under 10 milliseconds. Some people may be able to tell if you're playing like a stringed instrument or something like that. Some people may not. For speaking engagements, most people probably won't be able to tell. But because it transmits in multiple different time slots, and these are like tiny, tiny time slots, if something like just blasting RF real quick, a burst of energy, then it can transmit within another time slot, assuming it's within the time frame, and get a clean signal. So these are all working in busy environments, but they're all designed to work. The downside is because it's so busy, you really need to keep the receivers pretty close. Right now for this test, I have the receivers about 35 feet away from me, and I'm inside the household, but if you do an RF scan, you can see almost every neighbor is running both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz radios on their Wi-Fi. So that's complicated. And I can actually pick up some other people's AirPlay, Apple TV's Bluetooth signals and stuff like that. So interesting. So this is a very crowded environment that I'm in, nowhere nearly as crowded as if you're in a conference center or something like that with a bunch of people. Anyways, the point is that 35 feet away from me, they all seem to work right now. You can get the audio sample at the end, and you can decide for yourself. So the SHURE and the Sennheiser, all the heads are interchangeable within the brand. The Sennheiser ones, I think the analog and digital ones are interchangeable. So this is the 835 head on this one. You can get an 845 or a 9 series heads or whatever is your flavor. This one is the basic SM58 head. You can get a Beta 58 or Beta 87 or K9s or whatnot. The Audio-technica ones, you don't really see too many heads. I don't really see too many heads that are interchangeable on the Audio-technica system. I don't know if they make some, but hey, maybe you know and you can let us know. But we'll go over it all real quick. So this one right here is the Audio-technica 2.4 gigahertz System 10 microphone. Whether you get the System 10 standard handheld or whether you get the Pro system, the handheld system is exactly the same. You can pair the non-Pro ones to the Pro ones, or non-Pro ones to non-Pro ones, because it's exactly the same. There's no Pro model of the handheld. Okay, on the front, it has a light that tells you it's green, and a red when it's muted, and it has an ID. I think you can use up to about 8 of these together if you get the Pro and you link them together, I think. But this one is the ID. It's really only got one button on the bottom, and this confuses a lot of people because they're all looking around. They can't figure out where the button to turn on and off is. But it's got one button on the bottom. You hold it to turn it on. You press it real quick to turn it off. But that's pretty much it. This runs on 2 AA batteries. This is a Sennheiser EW D1 or EMD1 or EWD2, EMD2. I'm not sure what exactly it is because the information out there seems to be not too the same everywhere. Can't think of the word. But on here it says EWD2. Okay, so this, like I told you earlier, the heads you can change out. The analog and digital ones you can all change out together. Meaning you can put a digital microphone head on here or an analog head on here, or whatnot. As long as it's in the Sennheiser brand, it works pretty well. This one has 3 buttons, but only really 2 that you use all the time: pair button, the power button, and the mute on-off button. So it's pretty straightforward. When you mute it, this light will turn from green to yellow. When you unmute it, it'll turn from yellow to green. So this one, the Sennheiser receiver actually has a lot of interesting, what do you call it, bells and whistles. It's got like an auto gain, a de-esser. It's got like a 6 or 7 band EQ and a bunch of other stuff. This one you can connect to your Ethernet and kind of remote control a little bit those features and functionalities, but don't look into that app because that app is terrible. The WSR app, I can't even get it to work half the time because the iOS version is so much more upgraded. It looks like to me that they've made one-time low-cost investment and they never kept up with it. So we're just gonna pretend the app and the desktop application just doesn't exist because the desktop application for updating the firmware only works on Windows. But the app works on iOS and Android, but the app pretty much sucks, so just pretend it doesn't exist, all right? This runs on 2 AA batteries. You can buy a rechargeable battery pack sled that slides in and out, but for this, all intents and purposes, it's running on 2 AA batteries. So this right here is the SHURE GLX-D2. Like I said, this one has an SM58 head. You can change out different heads in the SHURE wireless brand. The GLX-D2 is an interesting system because they have multiple different receivers. The GLX-D2, you can get a pedal receiver, a tabletop receiver, or you can get like a GLX-D4R, which is like a rack mount receiver, which is in the GLX-D Advanced, like the pro version of this one. Because when you're running one of these, you're burning, I think, 2 or 3 frequencies. So they've made an advanced version where you can kind of run more of the GLXD systems together with the frequency manager, and I think it get up to like 9 or 11, probably realistically 9, I think, or less systems all simultaneously without burning too many frequencies to this frequency manager. But the GLXD system has 1 button to turn on and off, and that's all this really does. There's no mute button on here. I guess technically the mute button is just turned off, but that's all it is, on-off button. When the green light is blinking, it means it's not actively clean and you don't have a clean RF signal and it's not linked. But the GLXD system runs on a proprietary SHURE battery. Let me open it for you real quick. So this in here is a SHURE proprietary battery. It's probably about the size of an 18650 encased in a large piece of plastic with some chips and stuff in it, but it's roughly about that size. They say you can get roughly around 12 to 14 hours on it. I don't know, I've never been an event where I need to use it for 12, 14 hours, because if I'm an event that lasts that long, I'm usually running like ULXD or QLXD systems. But anyways, the point is that the battery life on these systems seem to work pretty well. There's a charger that's built into the receiver. You can just slide it into the receiver, slide it out to charge it in there. You can also charge this unit with the micro USB cable. So the interesting note about this one, I ran into several issues. This one seems to be a lot more RF sensitive than the other ones, because when you turn it on, it scans, or you can set it to scan for a group and a channel. But instead of like the Sennheiser and Audio-technica one, which are pretty much almost worry-free or hassle-free, meaning if I'm an end user and I don't know anything about audio systems, I just want to be able to turn it on and it figure itself out and use everything, then those two are probably going to be a little bit better. GLXD one, you kind of have to hit the scan button and set it up, and it'll set it up. And sometimes if you run into interference, it'll kind of swap over and do stuff. But if you forget to do that, you may or may not be using the cleanest channel to start with. So who knows? Anyways, the point is that it seems to be a little bit more sensitive. If I put this around some of these other receivers like this, very close in proximity, you can see it'll go out of link. These two, if I put these two close together, these two don't seem to lose connection. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, without too much further ado, let's get to it. Actually, let's talk quickly about these batteries. These batteries are roughly around $30-ish, and I think when you buy a system, you get one. So if you really want two batteries, you need to pay an extra $30 to buy the extra battery. But the battery you can be using in here and charging the other one in the receiver, so it's not too much of a problem. All right. All the audio that we're talking about right now is coming through this system right here. This is the SHURE QLX-D system. This microphone is the SHURE QLX-D2, and we're using the SM58 head on here. This is also a digital system, but this is not run on 2.4 gigahertz. This one is, I don't know if it's UHF or VHF, but it pretty much runs somewhere between 400 to 500 megahertz. And this one does not automatically scan the entire system, the band, and try to hop frequencies and figure it out. If you have a SHURE digital or Axient digital type system and all that stuff, and you with the AXT600, you can kind of figure out how set it up to automatically hop or change frequencies if interference is detected, but the QLXD system and the ULXD system do not do that. So the benefit to these, like I said, they'll always scan and change on a system like this, like an old, this not necessarily older type system, but a system not in the 2.4 gigahertz digital range. You really, when you set it up, it really scans and locks to two frequencies and two channels, and it's trimmed on both of those channels. So if interference is detected on one, it kind of sticks to the other one, but if interference is detected on both, you're kind of screwed, right? You kind of have to go and reset. So there's a big benefit to this types of systems if you want to worry about, if you don't have like an RF engineer coordinator or something like that. See, look at that, it's blinking. It lost the link. See that? Like I said, that only happens to this SHURE system, but it doesn't happen to these other ones, which is interesting because, I don't know. SHURE's usually making pretty good stuff. But anyways, the point is that on these, like ULXD, BLX, QLXD, and all these types of systems like that, it's locked, like I said, locked to two frequencies, and if it detects interference on both channels, you really have to go change it. You can kind of change it through like an app or frequency manager or stuff like that, but you really need to have like a RF engineer or somebody who kind of knows that stuff to do that. Whereas this, like I said, worry-free. But these sound pretty good. This one also runs on the 2AA batteries. They're also rechargeable lithium batteries that you can use, but for this purpose, we don't have those. So, we'll give you some samples of these microphones here, and we'll get to it. All right? All right, so for the audio going through here, it's not going to be very advanced or anything. These are all pretty much three systems that are over there 35 feet away from me, connected to a tiny digital mixer, which has all three line inputs of these coming in, and one main out that's going into the phone. So there's no fancy preamp here or any of that stuff. It's just literally raw audio going in there with no EQ. It's all flat, okay? No tuning, no effects, or any of that. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's find something to read here real quick. And there is a GRE book here. So let's talk about something. What can we, let's find the, where is, just, come on, just give me like a sentence or something. All right, let's just read this paragraph here. So I'm going to put this down. I guess we will start with the Sennheiser D2. So let me mute this. Check, check. All right, now we're back. So I'm going to read this here real quick, and you can kind of figure it out. I'm going to try to keep it roughly about 1 to 2 inches away from me. And let's go. Using the average pie has several benefits. First, it's an easy way to organize your information. One diagram will enable you to solve all your average problems. You don't have to rewrite the formulas depending on which part of the average equation you're looking for. Furthermore, the average pie makes it clear that you have 2 or 3 pieces that you can find the third. This makes it easier to figure out how to approach the problem. If you fill in the number of things, for example, the question wants you to know the average. The average pie shows you the key to unlocking the problem is finding the total. Okay, I'm not exactly even sure what that meant, but I'm sure if I thought about it, I could figure it out. But hey, that's what you get. So we'll just talk here real quick with this microphone. So this is the Sennheiser microphone. I like this microphone. This seems to be probably one of the most user-friendly ones, this one and the Audio-Technica ones. I use these all the time, at least once or twice a week in the venues and things that I go to. So one of my favorite microphones, but it's using an 835 head. Nothing too bad about that. Runs pretty reliably. This thing is built all metal construction, or at least it feels all metal construction right here. This part's pretty much plastic. But let's move on to the Audio-Technica System 10. Here we go. Check, check. All right, so this is the Audio-Technica System 10 microphone. Let's read that same sentence real quick, and then we'll talk about basic things. Using the average Pi has several benefits. First, it is an easy way to organize your information. One diagram will enable you to solve all average problems. You don't have to rewrite the formula depending on which part of the average equation you're looking for. Furthermore, the average Pi makes it clear that if you have two of the three pieces, you can always find the third. This makes it easier to figure out how to approach the problem. If you fill in the number of things, for example, and the question wants to know the average. Does that even make sense? If you fill in the number of things, for example, and the question wants to know the average Pi shows you the key to unlocking the problem is finding the total. All right, so this is the Audio-Technica System 10 microphone handheld. This, like I said, I use this at least once or twice a week. This one you can use up to 8 systems. Little power button right here. This runs on 2 AA batteries. There's no rechargeable battery pack you can get for this system. This system, right now I'm using the tabletop receiver, but you can get a stomp box, or you can get like a camera mount system. And I really love those, because if you're on the go or whatnot and you got to go somewhere remote and you're always traveling, you just need to get quick audio, you have like a receiver that can run on battery power. That camera mount receiver runs on lithium-ion batteries, and you can actually use it while you're charging it, so it runs a long time. So this is one of my favorite microphones. May not sound the best, I think, in terms of the head or whatnot, but most user-friendly, probably the best budget user-friendly, best microphone that I'd recommend anyone. So without further ado, let's get to the SHURE GLX-D2 system. Here we go. Check, check. I got to make sure it's linked because the light was blinking earlier. But this is the SHURE GLX-D microphone with the SM50 head. We'll read the sentence or the paragraph real quick. The average Pi has several benefits. First, it is an easy way to organize your information. One diagram will enable you to solve all your average problems. You do not have to rewrite the formula depending on which part of the average equation you're looking for. Furthermore, the average Pi makes it clear that if you have two of the three pieces, you can always find the third. This makes it easier to figure out how to approach the problem. If you fill in the number of things, for example, and the question wants to know the average Pi shows you that the key to unlocking the problem is finding the total. Interesting. So I don't know. I'm not really studying GRE, but we have a GRE book here. So we go through that. Like I said, this one, the GLXD system, you can also get a stomp box receiver that has a pedal button that you can use also as a tuner. I think that's kind of designed for what do you call it, like electric guitar board and stuff like that, or a guitar pedal board or whatever. You can actually connect this microphone to that receiver if you wanted to, but this one is going to a tabletop receiver. Like I said before, if you get the standard system like this, you're really burning 3 channels, which you can't use a lot of these systems simultaneously. If you want to use a lot of these systems, you got to use the GLXD Advanced system, which I think is the GLXD 4R or whatnot. And you can get a frequency manager, connect them all. The frequency manager actually transmits the frequency and the data and stuff in that frequency RF link. So that works pretty well. It also coordinates all the backup frequencies for all the receivers and stuff. But the downside of this system, like I said, is that it uses SHURE proprietary battery. Sure, you can probably replace a lot of AA alkaline batteries, but most of the people using wireless microphones are almost always using rechargeable batteries. Yes, it's not recommended because the rechargeable batteries are roughly 1.2, 1.25 volts versus a standard alkaline, which is 1.5 volts. But a lot of people do it anyways, and since if you're just going through things where you just got like 5 events a day or 10 events a week, or I don't know, something like that, then you just can't. Buying alkaline batteries all the time is just ridiculous. So a lot of people use rechargeable batteries, and it usually works fine. I know a lot of the people that are touring or doing pros or whatnot are always using like copper top alkaline batteries, and those usually get probably the best results because you're getting the full 3 volts instead of 2.5 volts. 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3. 1.2 plus 1.2 is 2.4. So anyways, the point is that this one uses the SHURE rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, and you could replace a lot of batteries for that. You probably replace buckets of alkaline batteries for using that. But the problem is, if you only have one, you're really in a tight situation. Sure, you could charge it for like 15 minutes and get, I think, like 30 minutes of usage or something like that. But you need to buy into the proprietary battery system. So if you're okay with that, it's great. The other problem I have with that is it seems to be the most sensitive to losing a link if I put them all next to the other receivers. The other ones don't seem to do that. So that's interesting. I know a lot of people complain about losing signal on a lot of these digital wire systems, but that's because they're trying to put the receiver at the front of house and use this transmitter on stage. That's a very far distance. These systems are really designed to be put next to the stage when you use them. Do not try to put them in front of house unless you literally have nobody in the way of your line of sight. Remember, 2.4 gigahertz. Everybody has, I don't know, smartwatch, smartphone, iPad, or whatever, and that's all causing direct interference between you, this transmitter, and the receiver. So make sure when you use the systems, try to keep them about right next to you, right next to the stage, or as close as you can get it, but do not separate them from the house. If you solve that problem like that, then you will probably not have these problems like of dropouts and stuff. But without further ado, this book here is the Princeton Review Checking the GRE. We'll go back to the SHURE QLX-D system. Here we go. All right, guys, so this is back to the SHURE QLX-D system. I'm not sure if any of you guys can tell real quick, but here, let's see if we can do a quick swap over. Since this is a 58 head and this is a 58 head, you're probably not going to tell too much of a difference, but let me see if I can unmute all of them. You're probably going to hear all the audio streams coming through. But this is the SM58 head on the SHURE. This is the Sennheiser 835 head. Back to the SM58 head. This is the Audio-technica System 10 handheld. Not sure what the head specification on this one is, but this is back to the SHURE QLX-D SM58 head. This is the SM58 head on the GLXD2 system. So anyways, hope that helps somebody out real quick in case you're wondering. But they all generally work fine. If people come to me and say, hey, I need a microphone system, before you tell them which the best one is, like the Accent Digital or even, I don't know, the Sennheiser, was it 6000 or digital, I can't remember what that model number is, but you need to always tell them you need to buy the thing that meets their requirements. Just because the Accent Digital, I don't know, whatever is the best thing on the market, it may not be the best thing that person needs. If that person is, I don't know, let's say starting up a church with 4 people in it or whatnot, sure, they could invest in that and use it for a long time, but that thing's probably going to cost them like $6,000, right? Something like this is most likely, if you're viewing this video or something like this, these systems are probably going to be fine for you. Like I said, I use these systems in medium-sized places all the time. I actually use them in large places. We use them in conference halls where we had like 200 people in them, but we were able to turn off all the 2.4 gigahertz radios on the access point. So it works fine. Anyways, hope this video's helped you guys out. If you got any questions or whatnot, let me know. Let me know quickly because I'm probably going to have to give these back to whoever they belong to. So like I said, hope the video's helped you guys out. And I'll see you guys next time.